Hello, everyone. Welcome to Gyan Yoga. And today we have our special guest, Matt Thornton. He is in London right now. He just woke up, and I am in California, about ready to go to sleep. But he is a very interesting person. He has so much wisdom to share that I would also love to share with you all. Matt is he's a water sommelier. He's a water researcher. He's an Emoto Hado instructor and heads the Emoto Peace Project in the UK, and also the co-founder, global ambassador for the Fountain of Spring, and then the founder for the New Water Generation. So let's talk to him. Oh, another cool thing about him, he's a pilot, a fighter pilot for 20 years, right? So,
I've moved
what
on a little. I've moved on a little bit from those days, but
did
yes.
you gain something out of the experience of knowledge that turned into wisdom that helped you where you are at right now?
So that's a very interesting question, actually, and not many people ask me that. The subject of being in the military has various, talents and gifts, and anyone who's been in that will understand that. It does give you some really great qualities like loyalty, trust, and integrity, and that kind of gets within your blood. It's like a bit of a brotherhood. The actual flying experience of high performance jets, shall we say, is a very intense job. Okay, and so it's extreme from both ends. Really, it's on every single end you can find it. My own experience with that is because it has some very talented, some talents you can then cross transfer into other skill sets. Is what I'm using now. You're very it's almost like being on a mission, and now I've got one mission left, which is about water, which we'll get to in a minute, about creating a water conscious generation. So I kind of have that focus. But my latter day experience in flying fighters was in developing next generation fighter airplanes for next generation usage. And so we had basically a blank sheet of paper, and the brief was make it ready, which is kind of my kind of brief, no brief, make it ready. And so we were tasked to developing new thinking in highly dynamic environments, in quite a hostile environment. When I'm talking hostile environment, I'm not talking like the enemy, supposedly, or the perceived enemy. I'm talking about the current state of thinking in the mainstream. It's very dogmatic, even in that environment, and a lot of big egos in that area as well. And I love them all like my brothers and things like that, but it's very hard to give new ways of thinking when you want to turn an organization 180 degrees around the other way and go in a completely different direction, because people come from their we've only done it this way, so this is the way I know how to do it. But when you're presented with something new, you get something known as cognitive dissonance, and people struggle adapting to new experiences unless they work them out itself. So we used to develop scenarios for pilots to go into so that they would develop the experience themselves, even though we probably knew what the answer would be on the outside. So it's give people the experience of understanding, and then they are rewarded themselves with believing. And that's the same with water, when we get to in a minute, where there is a fundamental shift in our understanding of water, and we need to review and rethink water in everything, in our bodies, in nature, our relationship to it, our purpose in life, and what actually the roles of water are in the universe, not just on planet Earth or planet water.
And what's also in relation to what we're going through right now, we are shifting globally. The consciousness is shifting, it's evolving. And you've mentioned that, from the training that it helped you adapt to change, which is what we're going through right now. And most of the people that are struggling is their failure to adapt to change, and that is basically causing a lot more of distress in their lives. So
I think so. Just on that, actually, I had an experience which I didn't mention there in the Air Force, where I had a bit of a, let's say, we say, an awakening experience. And I was on the ground for about 6 months learning a foreign language, and it was a very unique experience. I don't think I could have flown, but it was lucky I was just on the ground, because I realized that the battles that we were training to fight externally was really just a reflection of the battle inside me. And then I struggled for many, many years in understanding what that was. But it is that driving force that awoke me to discover, life from a completely different perspective. And then I started flying airplanes more from an artistic point of view. I know that sounds quite unusual, but it was more, it ended up the latter stages, certainly in artistry. And it was the bridge to understanding, the beauty of existence, and seeing existence through completely new eyes. I was at 50,000 feet doing Mach 2 occasionally, but you had these really unusual experiences based upon this kind of awakening experience. And that has driven me ever since. And what you're saying there, actually, I think people are going through the same as it is. Now, some people have quite a sudden awakening, which is probably what I did. But also the fact is, it's almost as if there's a massive extreme going on. Amazing stuff going on. It gives amazing hope, and it's very exciting. It's a huge opportunity. And I believe a sleeping giant has awoken, which is humanity itself.
Right.
And so there's so much good coming out of it from all generations, for that matter. Hopefully I can create some kind of impact towards that. And I think water, not only its critical need in the physical domain, what's going on the planet with shortages and stress and pollution immensely, but water will be a significant key in new research, in new discoveries, and how we actually look at everything. I'm a firm believer, by the way, that when we begin to understand water, the roadmap to ending all pollution will begin. It's quite a kind of a bold statement, but that's been my journey myself.
So what led you to this passion with water, this love and passion to understand it, to see what's under the hood?
Beautiful questions. Thank you for this. My experience in the Air Force, just go back to that 20 years ago, I started doing Tai Chi. In fact, I'm in my Tai Chi gear here because I was just doing some Tai Chi. And so I've studied the Eastern arts, or the internal martial arts, should we call it, of Tai Chi, Qigong, also yoga as well, which I'm qualified to teach all of them. But I do most of it for, I spent the last 20 years with the same master teaching me the same principles. And he does a much more enlightened form of Tai Chi, or the purpose of it is, it goes beyond health, it goes beyond the physical aspects, but it even goes beyond the meditative aspects of it. And it's really movement at its heart. It's pure movement in nature of basically it's consciousness. It's a reflection of where you are in your consciousness. And so I had that background 20 years ago, and I started understanding the energetic sort of movement in the body, how the body, from a more metaphysical side of it, how the body moves through energy, how conscious moves, how thought moves, how our relationship to the environment, much more from an Eastern philosophical point of view. And then 12 years ago, I just drank water, good water. Now, the question to ask is, what is good water? And it's an excellent question, because the waters are different. But I'll tell you what is good water. When you drink it, your body will tell you this is great water. And that's the experience I had. So by drinking great water, I had this almost illuminating experience of just astronomical feeling of clarity of the mind, something I've never had before. 6 months prior to that, I got into raw vegan superfoods as well. And I had an experience there that I just woke up going, oh my goodness me, I didn't realize I had brain fog until it went away. And then the water comes in, I mix the water into it. I didn't know anything about water. I come from a background that water is water is water, because that is the dominant thought system on the planet. Water is water is water. And there's reasons for that. We can go into that if we have time. I drank it. The body went, thank you. Okay.
Where was that water from?
Well, would you believe this? Believe that this was a municipal process water, because it was a technology demonstrator that took water from a municipal supply, went through various processes of cleaning it, and then structuring it in a certain way, and then infusing it with the optimum amount of minerals that was basically clinically trialed for optimal hydration after dehydrating induced exercise. Now, bearing in mind, I come from a lifestyle that was incredibly dehydrating. So in a fighter jet, or any airplane for that matter, is a very dehydrating jet. And certainly in a fighter jet, you have no access to fluids. And sometimes you're flying long missions and you're there dehydrated, having to perform at the ultimate level where decisions were kind of life and death. So I had this kind of understanding of performance and mind and machine and things like that. So that led me to going, wow, what is this? And I started distributing water to premiership football teams and Olympic athletes. And they were having the same results. They were going, wow, what is this? And I said, it's water. And because the questions started coming, I started getting to research, because of my background, operational test and research for fighter jets. I then started using the same processes in investigating water. And that led me, and my background in consciousness and movement led me to go primarily to the Emoto world of consciousness. And that's what led me on the path really. And I studied under Emoto for a couple of years, maybe 2 years before sadly he transitioned. So that was going back 2011, I think I first met
Mhm.
Um,
So can you tell us about the effects of the vibration? So to my based on my background, vibration is not just, you know, movement. It's also that our thoughts are vibration. We are the body is also made of 70% water. So our thoughts, our intention has an effect on water. So can you tell us about, you said something about you tasted water and it just made you feel good, you made you feel happy, you made it just, is that something about the ingredient in the water, is it something about the intention in the water? How can people who there's still a lot of people that I noticed that would drink water, that wouldn't even see water as a luxury to pay for like a bottled water at a restaurant. I see a lot of people order tap water because it's just it's water, but and some could be just not as tuned to the subtleties of the water, the vibration, and how it could help with consciousness. Can you expand on that a little?
You've asked quite a few things in there, and really excellent questions, actually. I'm enjoying these questions, and we could go on a long time, but we'll see. Just to clarify things about the bottled water thing. Bottled water has been around for 2,000 years. Okay, tap water, municipal water, is safe tap water or perceived safe water according to certain guidelines dictated by World Health Organization and certain legislations that are within certain countries and regions around the world say this is safe. Okay. That's a little bit controversial in my view. Okay, and so bottled water has then had a bit of a negative connotation, especially because it's been the packaging within it, the plastic packaging. We see the plastic packaging around the planet, and so therefore we associate bottled water as being very bad. That is not the case. Okay, and when I see pollution out there, plastic, all that stuff, I don't see pollution. To me, that is effects of pollution. We need to get to the cause of pollution, which is way upstream. Okay, and how we deal with these material things in this packaging. Vibration and sound with water, by the way. By the way, just when it comes to the bottled water, there are some very ethical bottled water companies out there doing very ethical things with a great message and great water. And also the fact is that the smaller companies as well, all about protecting the land. So I studied sommeliership of water by looking at the geology and the characteristic of how the water is formed through the geology. Even the clouds that it comes through forms that characteristic, and the small bottling companies, they really protect the land. So it really is about spring protection and land. And so I consider this as an investment in that protection of the land, especially with the ethical companies. And there's a few out there. We can discuss certain ones in America, which I think are amazing, by the way. When you're looking about sound and vibration and the subtleties, you're absolutely right that to understand water, really, water is not something you study. It's a journey you go on to discover life. And within that journey, okay, and what lies at the end of the journey, nobody really knows. But a few people have led the pathway in front of us. People like the scientists Jerry Pollack, Vladimir Voykov, past ones, Schauberger, even Da Vinci was up there. Okay, Gilbert Lings, all of that. And then people like Masaru Emoto, our traditional wisdom people still know this. So they've led the pathway for us, and we're coming up behind this. Okay, so it is a subtle journey because we've been, our entire infrastructure is set up to pollute. It's that simple. So we think that water is water is water. That is a fundamental shift we need to change. Okay, so on our consciousness, we actually think water is water is water. We need to shift that, not only because the fundamental research has changed and our new discoveries have changed, so our understanding, our relationship will change. We need to get rid of that old thinking and now come into a new style of thinking, a new level of thinking of what actually is going on with water. Okay. Consider water as two things. It has two characteristics. It has physical characteristics, which we know and love, H2O, and you can define the physical parameters of that. Okay, and that's done. Okay, from a classical dry science methodology, they can measure all that. But it has a lot of anomalies, 67, I think. It does not fit in. Therefore, it is the rebel element. Okay, it does not conform. It also comes from outer space. And the fact of the matter is to think of yourself not as 70% water, but as, because that's by volume, but as 99% molecularly speaking water. There is more water molecules than anything else. So to say that it has a passive role in the human body is a little bit irrational. I think Jerry Pollack would say that. We have to look at it as what it is. So now these new technologies, a new ability to see in water has allowed us to see water in a much more amazing scale. And that's giving us a lot more information. And now looking at those anomalies, we can go, so now there's some energetic characteristics of water. So we have the physical characteristics of water, and we have the energetic, or should we say, with energy, you have information. With information, it means you can carry consciousness within it. So we have new discoveries, and you're thinking about water. And now we can have a look at what is water doing in the human body? Where is the water? And so there's a lot of unknowns here at the moment. I was teaching a class the other day, a movement class, all about the fascia in the body and how to move the fascia. What is the fascia? Which is it's the largest system in the human body. And it's what covers everything. Every organ, the skin, bones, even around the nerves, okay, even there's microfascia within the cells. And what is actually going on with water? When we look at water, it reacts and responds very sensitive, extremely sensitive to sound, to light, okay, and to its environment, as in surfaces. And so therefore, it's got a relationship with sound, a relationship with light, and a relationship with the environment. And this is very subtle. And when we start to tune into this, our consciousness and our receptivity to water sensitivity expands. Now, you specifically asked about vibration. I've got to your first question right at the end, because let's have a look at sound, okay? Again, I look at sound now as, and in fact, the thinking now is like sonic geometry. And, you know, we're now looking at sound therapy, but now we're shifting towards music medicine, okay? Music medicine. Because sound is really like a form of energy. It's food for the soul. It's food for the soul. It's food for the cell. Now, any sound, whether it's music, okay, or the voice is an incredible instrument, okay, very complicated vocal apparatus. And when we engage it properly and through intention, it carries this sound. So whenever a sound is made, it manifests as a cymatic pattern, okay, which is a beautiful geometric pattern. Now, John Stuart Reid talks a lot about this, so I definitely encourage people to look at John Stuart Reid's work. And he's developed a scientific instrument called the cymoscope. Like a microscope, you can see things.
Right.
A cymoscope allows you to see the visible geometries in sound, which is constantly moving.
We have that in our gong concerts. We have a live projection of cymatics when we do the sound baths.
Well, now what's happening in the human body? That's beautiful you do that, because basically, this manifests as a cymatic pattern on every single surface of the human body. So you look at the integral membrane proteins around a cell, it's being bathed in these cymatic patterns that are constantly changing. And so it's like massage. It's like this pattern is rotated around the cells, and the cells pick up these resonant frequencies, and they respond to certain frequencies and certain volumes as well. There's a Goldilocks zone. Sorry, it's morning. I'm having trouble obviously speaking today. So apologies.
You need to vocalize and vibrate.
Yeah, I need to try. Exactly. We'll get warmed up in a minute. We'll start singing in a minute.
Your vocal apparatus, he called.
Yeah. So below about 75 decibels, it becomes more physiological effects. But between there's a resonance zone, I think, between about 75 and 85 decibels, where it responds biologically to inside the cells. So you're looking at the blood can uptake more oxygen. There's some really amazing research going on there. And then above 85 decibels, it becomes distorted. So you can have beautiful sound, but if it's high volume, it's going to disturb and distort the cells. And so you're going to get a destructuring effect throughout the body and in the cells as well. So you have this beautiful sound that you're making with the gong, which is a complex sound, okay, full of harmonics, and the body in its sacred geometric shape can resonate at all those frequencies. So it chooses the frequencies that it wants to, and it bathes itself, so heals. So what actually happens when there's an illness, according to John Stuart Reid, some of the cells go to sleep. I think it's called a G0 state, okay? And it needs a trigger. Modern medicine uses medicine and chemicals, but you can also have sleep and rest, okay? But you can also trigger it and stimulate, have a stimulus through sound. So you can use a particular sound to stimulate various illnesses. And so it will then trigger the body's healing response to go from the G0 state into a G1 state, start to wake up, and then start to come back to life, and in its environment will start to undergo its metabolic processes again. So sound and vibration can be used as a complete stimulus as well, and that can be done with the human voice as well. Just on this, how sound travels. We all think that sound travels in waves. It doesn't, because we see that on an oscilloscope. We think that's where it travels. It travels in bubbles. So it's a really complex system where sound comes from, let's just say when we're talking, it can be anything. I'm going to use the voice now because I've spoken about sound. Air comes out from a coherent heart, okay, uninformed air, and the complex larynx and vocal cords, and the complexity of the cavities of the mouth create this sound and shape with your conscious, your intention on it, and the tongue is there as well. The vowels have more power, but certain consonants do as well, and creates this bubble. Okay, so you trigger millions of particles within the mouth, okay? And so you have these sound bubbles. The sound travels in a bubble, and it's holographic as well. So there's a membrane. Whenever there's a membrane, you can put a cymatic pattern around it. Cells have membranes, so do sound bubbles. And it's the oscillation of the sound particles that create the sound, okay? And that then, so sound travels out as bubbles. But not only that as well, when they interact, they create, the magnetic fields between them oscillate, and they create light. So that you have not only a sound component to every sound, you have a light component. Okay, light is the secondary aspect to sound. And so you have this far infrared, or this light aspect, which has a healing impact as well. Now, this is frontier science. Which one has the major impact? The sound or the thought process, as we said, because a thought is amplified. So a word is like amplified thought. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I said water is hugely sensitive to everything. It's hugely sensitive to human thought. In fact, the biggest structuring effect on water is the energy of human consciousness. A lot of
Can you say that you can affect the coherence or the resonance of the water by blessing it? Let's say you don't have, for some people that, let's say you have not so much of a clean water, you just have tap water, but you bless it with your intention, maybe chant the mantra, Sat Namo Hai Guru or something. Can that affect the water? Can it change the molecular structure of the water? Can it make it good for the body, for the consciousness?
I'm pleased you asked this question, because I think this is one of the most fundamental and most powerful aspects of understanding we can go to. I personally would say that the best water you can drink, because you get asked this all the time, it's a very simple question to ask, a very simple answer, but a complicated journey to really grasp the answer. The best water you can drink is the water that's in your glass right now. Because if you have that,
talk about water, so I have water prepared.
Yeah, if you have that conscious intention, that connection with water, it will dance within you. Even if the water doesn't have a particular, let's just say, structure about it, the energy of human consciousness will accelerate that structure. Let's talk about the power of prayer. Okay, I spoke about what happens when you create a sound. Okay, it creates a bubble, and that has an information of consciousness. Now, certain sounds have certain resonant frequencies to them, and ancient languages, Sanskrit or Hebrew as well, the sound fully embodies the energy of the word. Okay, plus then on top of that, you get the consciousness. It's multiple layers. Right. You get the classical sound, you get the person who's speaking, you get the level of their consciousness, you get the shape of the sound itself. It fully embodies the energy of the word. Now, when you look at that, and then you have what I've just spoken about, how water to surfaces and in structures within water can react to the energy of human consciousness, okay, more dramatically than anything else by a magnitude of just amazing amount. Okay, you have the impact of creating that structural change within water by purely blessing the water. This is a certain amount of research I wish to do here, but I think it's the most powerful aspect of research I would like to I would look at. So basically, when you are making a sound, you have also this sound bubble that comes out that will dissipate according to kind of inverse square laws. But the light aspect that comes out, the interaction of the magnetic field, which carries a modulation of the sound, will go on to infinity, or go on to the stars. So when you create a sound, okay, you effectively sing to the stars. Again, this is John Stuart Reid's work. Now imagine that as a prayer. Now, what is a prayer? A prayer is basically coherent thought wrapped up in sound, okay, layered with your consciousness. And that's going out into the cosmos. Now we look at what happens to mantra and prayer within the human body. And there's research done on this as well. The effect that it has on the DNA, and actually on the telomeres on the end of the DNA, of how it can, certain amounts of time that will impact it will allow the DNA to replicate itself faster than the telomeres to go. So basically you're youthing. So to me, mantra and prayer is the ultimate understand, and ceremony, through ceremony ritual, to me is the ultimate understanding I've had with water. And I come from a background of, you know, military jets and water is water is water. And I've come on this journey myself and meandered around that, and that's where I am right now. And to me, you know, it's prayer is the ultimate structuring tool you should have in your toolbox.
Yeah, I'm very big on intention. When I teach a class in the beginning, I always take time to set your intention for this practice. What would you like to manifest? What would you like to experience? And feel the feeling of what it is that you're manifesting, like it's already happening at the moment. So it changes the vibration in the body, and and then also intention on the water, and intention on food. But I bless my food. I bless my water. A training, a short course for sound healing, and I spent a lot of time with explaining intention and prayer. And I use the example of Dr. Emoto's work on the water that they got from a dam or something. It's the dirtiest water that you're not even supposed to touch it. It's so dirty. And then they got this water and they had people pray over it, and then they took another shot in under the microscope, and then it changed the molecular structure of the water, and that is coming from the dirtiest water, and without doing any chemical reorganization. It's just merely intention and prayer. So that is just for me is a beautiful way to give people. Sometimes nowadays people are so sophisticated, they won't buy your words. They need to see,
I know,
examples, and I think that is the best one. And
can I just say,
that was just, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
that's a very beautiful exercise. And by the way, I want to say, you know, you look at, because you do that, you know, you have a radiant soul. You have a very beautiful, you know, you can see that, you know, you will never age if you do that. And those kind of habits that you do and you teach that, to me, I have to honor you for doing that. That is, I salute you, and the people who come to your class for doing that, because that is so powerful. And it's like frequency plus intention equals healing. I think Jonathan Goldman talks about that, and intention and the quality of that intention, the purity of that intention. Whether you're doing a class, whether you're eating, you're drinking water, or cooking food as well, not just eating it as well. Okay, and then blessing
Or
at that.
thinking.
Yes, it will structure the body will sing to you, and the water that's already within your body will sing to you, and will sing to the food that comes into the body and nourish it. I found myself, I don't need to eat I eat about as half as much ever used to, because of just the energy and how my body responds to this kind of lifestyle and this kind of approach. So I salute you for teaching that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So you would say that by changing our thoughts, we can actually heal ourselves. Just by changing the thought pattern, and that affects the vibration and the water within our body, we could heal ourselves if we have that kind of practice of awareness of our thoughts and how that thought can vibrate the water in our body. Because if we can just chant a mantra and pray over the dirtiest water and change the molecular structure of the water, then by doing it on our own, by practicing maybe through meditation, the Tai Chi, and that your movement can help harness the mind to vibrate at a higher level, at a higher frequency, by thinking, a more coherent thought pattern, because it's vibrating. And you say we have 99.9% water, so there's just so much water that any negative thought can have an effect, any positive thought can have an effect in the body. So it's just a matter of how do you want to play it.
Totally, absolutely true. And I think we're looking at some frontier levels of understanding. And although that's very sacred what you're saying, and the ancients have known that for many millennia, we're kind of in the Western thinking world, shall we say, we've kind of lost the ability to think. We've forgotten how to think and what thinking is for. Now, where I am on my kind of journey at the moment is we're not here to think. We're here to receive thought and then act on it. And so how do you differentiate between the thoughts that are non-coherent and thoughts that are coherent when there's a dominant thought system out there that is it sucks you into the world and allows you and makes you want to think like they do? And I think with this kind of knowledge that we're talking about here, we're starting to realize that we have a responsibility to everything. We have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but to the environment. When I said we use the word of language, words, Emoto would say water Emoto would say life is water and words. Okay. Whereas Jerry Pollard would say life is water, minerals, and light. You know, both correct, just coming from different angles. Let me just come from Masaru Emoto's point of view as well, because although he came at water from a completely different perspective, okay, and going back to that prayer thing, there'd be a lot of people, scientific people, who would say it wasn't scientific enough. There wasn't enough science in consciousness to understand whether that level of experimentation, and so they looked at his methodologies. And so classical science would look at it with being very confused. But the science has moved on from this now to be able to explain it in a plausible way. Now, why am I saying this? Is because there has been a lot of experimentation as well with looking at the energy of space, both before mantra or meditation, during and after as well. And you can measure the energy of space through various scientific methods, and you can actually have a look at it. So it's actually proving to the rational thinkers there is something going on. So I believe with all this information, whether you come from the more conscious side of view and you don't need to have the rational understanding, or you've come from the rational understanding and now there's enough evidence coming through this, is to look at this and say, we have a responsibility not only to ourselves, but when I speak to you, I'm conscious, I'm becoming more conscious of how I use my language, because the effect of my words has an effect on your DNA, and you're telling me this potentially. So and this is one of Emoto's message. His message was one of peace and one of, it was a spiritual method, but he was not a spiritual guy. He woke up to spiritualism through his research in water, and he didn't want to be a water hero legend. It was amazing, right. Such a humble guy. And he would say, water crystal photography is neither science nor religion, but the message contained within it is true. And I think what he's done, he's really accelerated the evolution of human consciousness by showing that we are intrinsically connected to water, both from an individual and a collective fashion. And from there, to me, it says we now have responsibility of who we are, and repurposing the body, repurposing our language, repurposing our roles in life, repurposing how we treat people, how we educate people. So how do you quieten thoughts is a very challenging subject. But I think with the practices that you practice, that you teach, the mind quietens on its own. There's nothing to be done. And in a certain period of evolution, the mind just quietens and you become aware of the clarity of the mind. Mine happened about 20 years ago, but then when I drank wonderful water, my body took good water, that's when I got real clarity of mind. The water propelled me into this level of thought system. And now, as I don't drink alcohol, I'm completely vegan. And it's because what we consume is affecting my clarity of thought and how I can align to whatever it is that I'm aligned to. It's keeping the body pure. It's keeping the environment pure, whether it's, and this is not only the things that we can see, by the way, the effects of pollution, it's the invisible things. We're talking electromagnetic radiation, a lot of, and it's multiple layers, a lot of influence out there that is influencing the electricity in the body. The body is an electrical charge. It runs on electricity and it responds to light and sound. We need to understand this. And so we're going to have to review how we look at the body. You look at an Eastern philosophy, they observe the body, they observe living bodies. Western world, I'm not knocking it, okay? It's like everything has a place. We just need to accept everybody's place. Looked and dissected dead bodies with no life force. And when you're looking at life force and how it responds, this is why the traditional Chinese medicine and the more Eastern philosophies have a very, very subtle understanding of how the human body and consciousness interact, and then the purpose of the human body itself in the physical ones. And I call it the shape of prayer, because a lot of the texts talk about make your life a prayer. Mm-hmm. And when you do water research, you realize that water is the master elicitor to everything, and that it's too late to make your life a prayer. It already is. We just have to wake up to the fact. Yeah. And although religion has coined prayer as almost its own, and we sometimes kind of associate prayer with religion, it is not. It is as ancient as humankind of connecting to something greater outside of them. That's a big thing in itself. And actually, I think Angela Montana does a lot of stuff. She does a thing called Rethink Prayer. I'd really urge people to look at her work. She's beautiful.
Who is it?
Angela Montana. She does some, she's doing rethinking prayer. So she does And she talks about prayer in a completely different way and makes it much more mainstream. And, 12 years ago, I would have considered, 15 years ago, I would consider myself nuts because of the society I was in and the environment I was in within the military. Now I realize that prayer, water, sound, everything you said, meditation is the ultimate. And I had to wake up to, I had to go through that warrior's journey, the healing journey, and then come out to be the lover and the magician at the other side. And I'm still working on all of those.
I used to love garlic and onion in my food. Throughout my meditation, many years of meditation and yoga, it just basically just came out. I can't stand garlic anymore. It's too strong for me. I can't stand onion. And now I'm very, very picky with the taste of the water. Like I can taste it. And some of my friends would say, how can you, what's the difference? Water is water. It just quenches your thirst. I'm like, no, it's different. And I can't quite explain it, that it just, it tastes different. But then it also is a mirror of the evolution of the consciousness, the evolution of the mind. So the more resonant you are with your mind, body, and spirit, which is what is my point here for doing Gyan Yoga, is to give knowledge, and hopefully this knowledge will inspire you, to everyone, to turn it into wisdom through your own experience. And in order for us to experience infinity, in order for us to experience the vastness of our body, or let's say enlightenment, we have to understand that we have three facets for the human being, which is the body, the mind, and the spirit, or the soul. And in the body, it's a vehicle. So if we treat it as a temple, then we will be able to resonate with the things that can help us with our enlightenment.
Let me just go to the people who say water is water is water and how they taste it. It's like our infrastructure is set up to pollute. Now, we look at sanitation, we look at, the water closet. Ever since 200 years ago, when that was designed, and there was an opportunity to go down the water closet or the earth closet. Unfortunately, we chose the water closet. So therefore, we are programmed that water is the recipient of all our waste. And that's how we think about it. Okay, so that's what it is. And let's create sanitation. Let's create toilets and water. I'm not knocking the sanitation. It's just that the methodology we chose is wrong, because it's now programmed our conscious that water is water is water, is the recipient of all our waste. We need to shift away from that. You have a very sensitive palate, and you've cleansed yourself. And this is what happens. I became a detox therapist 12 years ago. Got into raw vegan superfoods. Body started to cleanse. I couldn't put foods into my body. They were rejecting it. All I could put in was very clean foods and great water. Since then, my palate has changed. And as a sommelier, okay, you can taste certain waters, and each water has a certain characteristic. Now, certain waters, the majority of waters have very low mineral content, even though people go, oh, like it's got 300 TDS in it, total solid. It's very hard. You need specific mineral contents of specific minerals to be able to taste the minerals or the characteristics in them to be able to really get it on your palate. However, collectively, they create more haptic sensations and more things. So you can taste it, and it's all down to the cleanliness, the purity of the body, and how your palate is, and how it can differentiate taste. And also the fact is, the taste in the tongue as well. There's hundreds and hundreds of receptors in the tongue and in the nose for smell wise. They need to be trained. And if we're just eating the same things all the time, processed foods, and that it's like creativity. You need to explore it all the time. You need to clean it out first, and then you can start to taste, and your body will let you know what's really good for you. In terms of what I do, the best advice I ever had was from a Shinto priest up in northern Japan. I went to get a blessing. This painting behind me, I commissioned this. It's a symbol of Wa. I got it commissioned. It's spun in gold with a symbol of Wa, with a phoenix and a dragon. And I use that basically to influence the energy of space within the room. So that is one of my water structuring tools, art, because it has an influence on the energy of the room, and also the symbology of it, and the fact that it's in gold, it's highly resonant. Anyway, I went up to see the Shinto priest, and I just wanted to get a blessing to use the symbol to present to people. And he sat us down and spoke to us for about 4 or 5 hours. I wasn't expecting that. It was beautiful, all in Japanese, but it's translated. And he asked me, and I asked any questions. I said, yeah, what advice would you give me for life? It's the only thing I could think of, because he gave me such great information. And he goes, find your own way. And I thought it kind of gave a little, wow, it took all the pressure of everything. Find your own way. So take what is right for you and what resonates with you. When you do yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, find which style works. You find which teacher works for you, and find which one works for you, which meditation practice for you. Eventually, we all meet at the same pathway. I came from a background of, high performance jets and had an experience in the middle of that let me see life and see the planet. When you look down on the planet, you see magnificence. You have nothing but reverence and awe for earth gazing. So I have this complete reverence for clouds as well. I've sat in clouds, I've been in clouds for 8 months of my life. Can you believe that? I've logged them. So I have an affinity to being around water in a strange way. I've found my pathway through. Yeah, I found my pathway through Tai Chi, through a specific style of Tai Chi. There are many styles, okay, which teaches a more spiritual aspect of Tai Chi. I found that way. I found my way into Qigong the same way. Yoga I did to really enhance the physical body. Yoga is equally as good for some people. The spiritual mantra teaches me, Jason Chan, he studies everything. He doesn't want any gaps. And he's a master in just about everything. So it's quite overwhelming if you want to go down that route. But to me, your approach with sound therapy, yoga, movement is very key. Okay, thought, intention, the foods we put in ourselves, the friends, family, the love we give to everybody else. This will all come to a collective outcome that will lead you down a pathway. Okay, and the art of creativity is really not knowing what's happening, and then to reflect and look back on it, and that's where you come from. You come from a place of not knowing. The thing about water, the water monitors all this, okay, because water is the master listener. It listens to everything. It listens to every thought, word, prayer, action, intent. And this is the magic. It was Laurent Costa said this. Water opens its heart to those that love it. And so as we evolve, I think, we all have to have a connection with water because it's who we are. And the one thing that connects us all is water, but not only any type of water, it's organized water. And it's this organizational water, this structural side of water, the more gel type of water, okay, that connects us all and gives us that responsibility. And water is now revealing itself to those that love it. You can do some scientific experiments in it, and if the intent is not there, it just won't reveal itself.
Right.
There's some
like
amazing
a love story.
Yeah, there's some amazing research gone on crystallography and patterns in geometry, where water is not only bringing geometry into the frame, it's bringing imagery. So it creates macroscopic imagery. And this is the work of Veda Austin. Her work is profound. She has a wonderful connection with water from New Zealand, and I've been to see her work. And she's just bringing out a new book, by the way, and you will see the fact is, so we're not only looking at crystallography, geometry and patterns, we're looking at vectors and information carried, we're looking at an intelligence, almost a communication between yourself and the water, because it's revealing itself to somebody who loves it. Right. It is phenomenal.
So basically, if we practice meditation, yoga, or anything that will increase your awareness, then your awareness of your thoughts can impact the water within you, and then that water within you can impact the environment around you. It'll create harmony. If it's harmonious on the inside, it'll be harmonious on the outside. So if you want to change something, so through the understanding of how water retains so much memory, how water is so essential to life, and having that knowledge, you can create your own experience of water by adjusting your thoughts, adjusting your awareness, and then just observe how the outside also changes, because like you said in the beginning, it becomes a mirror. Like you were on those jets, and you're not enemies, but whatever was on the other side became a mirror of where you feel you were at. So then that shifted you to go deeper into yourself, because you saw a presentation of what's happening within you. I mean, that's in a nutshell what I got out of this. Is
Well, you articulated it very, very beautifully there, and I can hardly add anything to that. Masaru Emoto would say that water is a reflection of the human soul. Okay, now water has many roles. To understand water, it is transdisciplinary. across all the sciences. You can't study physics on its own and start to understand water. You need to be in physics, chemistry, biology, environmental sciences, evolutionary, then the quantum counterparts as well. So you need to be transdisciplinary. Like to study DNA, you need to study water, because DNA is not just a molecule, it's an antenna which is wrapped around highly structured water. The most complicated structure in the human body through the DNA and in the brain, by the way. So funny little thing, that means the amount of information and consciousness that it can contain is very important. And yes, what you just said there will impact both those organs and throughout the human body. So not only is it transdisciplinary across the sciences, it is multidimensional through the sciences. So you go from the physical side to it to the more informational, the more metaphysical side, and the more consciousness side of it. So we can look at water from what is water's role in the human body? It's let's say it's hydration. I mean, the science of hydration, the science of is moving on now as to actually what that is. And many processes, metabolic processes as well. Let's look at roles in nature. It is a mediator of all of the nature. It's an architect. Let's look at it from the cosmic side of it, because there's more water in the cosmos than there is anything else apart from hydrogen. What is hydrogen? It's the water generator, effectively. And so there is an amazing relationship between hydrogen and water in the cosmos. So much of it out there. What is it? I would suggest it's more like a harmonic communicator with the cosmos, because water will read the subtleties, the information from cosmic shall we say, events, and certainly constellations of the moon, not just full moon, but also the differences of the constellation of the moon. And then we get down into the conscious. What is it? It's a reflection of the human soul, according to Masaru Emoto, which I think is a very beautiful way of looking at it. And so
I even heard that they are going to microchip water just because of how much memory the water can hold. So
if you look at the states of what we look at silica is two states, on and off. You look at water with oxygen, and from a physical point of view, it's got oxygen, I think it's got 5 states. And so, the enormity of the storage capacity is infinite. I can't even begin to do the mathematics to say what it is. And so the thinking now is that water is a quantum supercomputer that's way ahead of any understanding of where we're at the moment, and is an incredibly intelligent being. I like to see it as more as a being. It's like a shared being. I'm not suggesting that water is alive. To me, it's more than that. It is life itself, of which you cannot destroy it. Water cannot be destroyed. It's like energy. It will just transform. So it has its own internal.
Good thing you mentioned transform, because I was thinking, okay, if it holds that much memory, and this water, before it ended into our glass, it went through so many processes and so many thoughts and whatnot, and then when it gets to your glass, and it holds all that memory, yet that's why you use your prayer, your intention, so you transform it into something that's more coherent to your body's biology, right?
You're the ultimate end of the road, effectively, that you have the responsibility for make that water dance within you. Also, when you pass it to somebody else as well, you have a responsibility to hand it over in a really highly coherent state. I would always pause when somebody pours my water, hands me water, because they're giving you a gift of life. And when I receive that, I then, my consciousness then gets transferred into that water. You can have people who use the same water and draw from the same water, and their imagery and their patterns will be completely different. There'll be same patterns throughout their own individual consciousness, but between people, different patterns in the same water. So when that moment of consciousness interacts, I don't know. And the water knows, the water chooses what it will reveal to you, by the way. It will choose. So there's an intelligent dialogue going on.
You're making it a sacred ceremony, and if your body is a temple, then you only put sacred stuff into it. So it becomes this is very enlightening. Our conversation is very enlightening, because it just changed the level of water to this sacred, essential thing, essential to life. So it's not just, next time we drink water, you're not just gonna down it, you're gonna appreciate the water, you're gonna bless the water. It becomes this holy water.
I don't mind you gasping it, as long as you do it in a sacred way. I don't mind that at all. But yes, you're absolutely right. It is. I mean, I went to Hawaii, and everyone, one of the concepts over there is that your kuleana, which is your responsibility. I find my responsibility is to impart some of this knowledge, or this knowledge, as quickly as we can to mainstream. And there's other people doing it out there as well, doing amazing jobs. So, you know, my role is to create a new water conscious generation where we can reach the level that you're talking about, which is one of the ultimate levels. What you said is phenomenal. And if we can shift people to one step further to reverence for water, I think not only that will that shift them into optimal health themselves, but also for the planet as well. Reverence for water. If you look at it out there, I've got a beautiful garden out there. Everything, 99% of that is predominantly water, and it's organized water. Same in the body. You look at the clouds, there's more water up in the sky than there is in the rivers and on the planet. And how do we treat it? We treat it based upon the fact that we are used to polluting it because we flush the toilet with our pollution. And so we're impregnated with that kind of level of consciousness. We need to shift away from that level of consciousness. Okay. If you look at some of the pollution statistics, sorry to leave on a negative, but I think we need to really realize what's going on. The entire weight of the human population is dumped into the world's rivers, oceans, and springs every single day. That is 2 billion tons. 2 billion tons every single day. I am a firm believer, okay, and this is my philosophy speaking. I don't mind, you know, taking a few hits for what I say. I've done that in the military, so I'm used to taking hits, okay, and knowing how to get out of that. So that's a good skill I learned. Is when we begin to understand water, the roadmap to ending all pollution will begin, because it becomes incomprehensible to even think about pollution. And so now look at the traditional and the indigenous people, which I'm working quite a lot with, and seeing why they're in such an uproar. And it's true, you know, they should be as well. And I'm in pain, not only just for them, but you start to feel the water and the pain that it's going through, waiting for us to come to it and wake up and connect back to water and to rethink water, which is what we need to do. Because the alternative is kind of operation certain death. And the other way is optimal health, performance, beautiful environment, and an enlightened way of living.
Yeah.
You know, why would you not choose that way? And all you need to do is, if you had one prayer, okay, start with thank you. Yeah. Okay. And Emoto, one of his signature prayers was the Ho'oponopono. Okay. And at the second after that, thank you, I love you. Okay. And it's not talking about, it opens up the universe's doors towards you, and it allows us to become responsible for everything. Right. Okay. That we all have a shared responsibility at the subconscious level. And so it opens the cosmos up into receiving our you know, to asking for forgiveness and opening up in a sense of gratitude, and for not seeing the love that's around us everywhere. And that prayer is very, very powerful. And you can just start with thank you, just when you receive that water.
Yeah, the water will dance for you. I can see that how thank you or gratitude opens ourselves, because we usually say thank you when we have received something. Yes. So by saying thank you, by saying gratitude, we shift our vibration into it, and we attract that same vibration into our lives. So yeah, I start my morning.
The geometry of these kind of emotions, joy, gratitude, love, nature shows us that these kind of emotions move in beautiful geometries. And so the purpose of energy coming into form is through shape, and you can see that through geometry and crystalline patterns. Whether it's through microscopic or macroscopic, water reveals itself in beautiful patterns and shows the energy of these beautiful emotions. So these are the energies where we need to strive towards and start to live our life towards. Yes. I would start with having a connection to water based on this conversation. Even if people don't understand some of this conversation, and at the soul level, they will understand this conversation. And look at me, come from a background, I was a hooligan in the air, okay? We used to come down to the ground and go to the bar. We used to refresh, we'd go to the bar because it was intense. That's what I mean, it was intense. It was extreme party, or just, you know, just trying to come down from the extremes of to extreme dynamics. And yeah, it's like a near-death experience of 20 years I had. I come from that background. I come from a background that water is water is water. I know that background. Okay. I was lucky that I got to drink great water, and I came from a bit of an awakened kind of mind, but that's okay. I also have a bit of a scientific mind. I'm not a scientist. I have a science background, by the way. I've gone more into the creative, intuitive mind. And now looking at that in a more scientific methodology way, I'm coming back down into the science aspect. So I'm still on that journey. So you're going to get rational thinkers and you're going to get more awakened thinkers. That's fine. My number one thing is relationship to water. Develop a new relationship with water based on what we said, realizing there must be something to this. Okay, even if it's just that curiosity, have a relationship to water. When we drink water, I always drink it in some kind of beautiful glass, got lovely glasses behind there. Have a nice glass for this, not a tumbler that's been washed a million times. Have reference water. Water will react to it. And we can just say thank you to this. Hold it in even in both hands as well.
So by
You
just
know,
asking a question or saying thank you to it, that's how you create a relationship with water.
it will start to dance with joy within you. So I would start to enjoy a new relationship with water. I would then look at what type of waters I'm drinking, whether it's the municipal water and thinking, maybe I need to do something with this. And we can have systems that do the whole house and make us bathe and wash and shower, and I can design them. We can have another conversation on this if you like. Or we just have drinking water, or we're out traveling. We need to know which is the best water to drink. Whether it's the municipal tap water, restaurant filtered water, or I need to go to a bottled water. Okay. I'm not knocking bottled water. I mean, a lot of people give it a negative connotation. That is not true. It is water. We need to start looking at the inside and the quality inside. The packaging is secondary in some respects. So we
I
need to know
think
how
it's
to
more of
choose a
people
water.
see it as a luxury or unnecessary money that they will have to pay when they can just get water for free.
I think this is a big conversation, and it's not an argument. It's not an argument. It's about seeing both. It's about seeing both sides and seeing where everybody is and embracing where everybody is and understanding everybody's suggestion or argument. But it's what we're talking about here is having awareness. That awareness comes from a little bit of knowledge where we can get wisdom, and we can start to choose water that is right for us, which is why I said, what is the best water to drink? It's the water that's in your glass right now, because some way you have a connection to that water. Now we need to awake to this. So we can start to choose which are the right waters to have. Okay, even in restaurants, we're ordering a bottle of water or tap water, we can start to choose wisely. Not only that, by the way, we need to look at our diets as well, because the old paradigm of drinking 8 glasses of water a day, that's old. Okay.
Really? So what's
Yeah,
new?
it's like, when I say it's old, so I'm not knocking it, that's the wrong thing. It's more like saying we need to evolve from that and start to look at diet, because a lot of our water comes from diets. And if we have a high water content diet, a lot of fruits, vegetables, you look at, open up an apple, open up a pomegranate, look at the beautiful structures in
Watermelon.
that. This is water that's in that perfect state for you to drink it. Okay. So you can get an awful lot of hydration from the high water content diets. So we need to start looking at diets, and then we drink less water for that matter and still be really inefficient, because if the water is coming in and it's bloating and not going out, because for various reasons it's lost a lot of structure, meaning it's lost a lot of its electrical charge, means it's not going to do anything. It sits there, you bloat, okay, and you just pee it out. That's no good. We need to start to understand how we need to move that body into the cells, how we need to get into the tissues, into the fascia, move, yoga, tai chi, even exercise, but it's actually, redefined my understanding of exercise. It's micro movements. Gina Brea does amazing stuff on the science of hydration. Micro movements. You can just do this consciously, move it. Just we're sitting now, fidget a little bit. Okay. It's getting water going. And when you move like that, it creates a pressure. You get this piezoelectric pressure as well. You get electricity just by moving. You get stagnant water moving, the lymph. Let's get that stagnant water moving. Move a little bit more, embrace yoga, tai chi, qigong, or some other kind of conscious movement, but also, other movement exercises as well, but come at it from a different angle from hydration. Hydration is not drinking water. Okay. It's a combination of drinking the right water in the right way and movement as well. Micro movements, understanding how to move that fascia. Yeah.
Beautiful. So your recommendation would be to create a relationship with water.
Create a relationship. Then we can start to get a little bit educated, and we can start to choose water wisely, whatever type that is, or get a system. And then thirdly, understand what water is doing in the body and learn how to move it into the cells.
So is that what you have? The new water generation. That's your company, right? It's your
The new
business.
water generation. Yeah, the new water generation is a collection basically of business architects, water architects. I'm supposed to put myself in both those brackets. Technologists, scientists, artists, crystallographers, traditional wisdom keepers, and consciousness people coming together to create a new water conscious generation. Within that, so I give people experiences of water. Water's true nature, as in, we can design systems. I design systems for people. I've been in a lot of research and development. I'm just about to launch in about a month's time, maybe 6 weeks' time, a new model so that people mainstream can understand water very quickly. Okay, so we design systems according to those principles, where I embrace the physical characteristics of water and the informational properties, the energetic properties. I've created a model that just, there it is. And so our
What do you mean
systems,
by system? Is an actual system or a system of teaching?
okay, a plug and play system where you can start to drink water. So the New Water Generation will have an e-commerce retail distribution aspect where we will create water systems, or you can buy them off the shelf. They're plug and play. They are modular, so you can add into it according to where you're on your journey. You can start very cheaply. Everybody should be drinking good water, and we have to have the responsibility for doing this. One of the reasons I did this, I did a lot of research in the sewerage and of the United Kingdom and replacement of pipes. I don't know what it's like in the US, okay, but to change all the piping in the UK is going to take 800 years. You don't want to be at the bottom of that list. So we have to take a responsibility, unfortunately, for really cleaning the water at that final point that comes into a house, whether it's a whole house system where we can bathe in the energy and the bath and the shower, or we can just drink it, or it's a countertop. There are some really great systems. And also there's some additional things you can put in there that really enhance the quality of the water and keep it there very simple and very cheap for everybody. Or you can go on to the other dimension and have some really luxury kind of products. And eventually, some people might go there. So I work in noble metals and gems and crystals and designs of spinning water. I use resonance. You don't have to understand the philosophy of anything. And all those kind of products there's no maintenance. They supply an infinite supply of structured, flowing, beautiful water for life. We need to clean out the mischief before,
right.
And then we put it through the other modular bit.
So is that something that's only available in London, or is it something that people can worldwide can is that
But
a
at the moment,
have?
I'm dealing for the United Kingdom. These products come from all around the world, okay? And what I would love to do then in that case is, once I'm live, or we can have another conversation of this, I can assist people in choosing wisely. And that's one of the things I do. People will wake up to the system that they need, but there's so much confusion out there as to what is the system, what's right for me. And most people buy something and then not really know what it's for. I won't do that at all.
Mm-hmm.
People will only get something if they know exactly what it's for and where they are on their journey, and they know that it's potential foundation, and that's where they're on the journey, and they know where it is. And I will teach them very simply, very few paragraphs of how to understand water very, very quickly. Again, if they want to get more information,
even purchasing the product is it's a sacred ceremony.
it is. I mean, I think the most important thing, let's talk about one of the most important things is to get yourself a water bottle. Okay. Mm-hmm. There are many out there. I choose water bottles that are, that's Aquapana. We can talk about that if you like.
My favorite.
It's a beautiful one. I mean, it's from a sommelier point of view, it's a neutral water. Okay, so it has about 180, 220 or something like that TDS, and it's in the middle of Tuscan hills. I think the Apennine hills, and it has a history about it. I love the history about it. It's where it was on the only road north and south between Italy, and so all the Roman soldiers used to stop there. It was renowned in the Tuscan hills for giving beautiful, creamy water, and panna actually stands for cream, so it's like a really creamy water.
Wow, I didn't know that. I just based from the taste. There's only 3 waters that I like, and this one, the one from Evian in the source, and then the tap in Iceland. It just tastes so good.
Well, tap water in Iceland.
Yeah.
Well, they have. I mean, this is the thing as well. We need to look. This is the thing about municipal water. It's a very good point. Where is the source of your municipal water? Is it from a Icelandic aquifer where it's going to be amazing, and we might just need to just restructure it at the end because it's got an amazing structure? Or is it from some municipal, system in the United Kingdom or London that's been built by the Victorians, and it might have a little bit extra mischief in it. And dare I say, I have been to a few laboratories in London that test water. These are independent university labs as well, and you will not want to know what they're testing for in the water. There's a lot of mischief. I don't want to use the words here, but
I think here in the US too.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, recreational drugs, hormones, everything. It's like, whoa. So, this is why, we need to start realizing what we're putting in our water and become circular with our lifestyles. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this is one of the cheapest things you can buy, like a water bottle. I've got various ones here. This is a beautiful one, Blue Bottle Love. You can get this one in the UK with my friend Raiden from Hawaii. Blue has a great filtering and structuring effect through the sunlight. So you can keep this in the sun. Okay, so it's a wonderful environment it keeps it in. It's got a wonderful, what we call a symbology. I've chosen one, Aloha. So it has a Hado. It has a vibrational imprint into the water. And when you drink it, because I'm drinking out of a conscious bottle, it reminds me to get really conscious, and it reminds me of the word of Aloha, okay, which basically means the breath of God is within us all. It's fantastic. And so this is water that's loving being in this bottle, you know it, and I love drinking from this bottle. I've got other bottles here. Flask is another great one, okay, which imprints vibrational signatures into the glass here. I tell you the way to go. In the States, I would go to the Wellness Enterprise and speak to my friend Patrick. He's like me. Okay. He's the version of me
Which state is that?
He is in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay. But he will serve
for the ones that are in California.
He will serve you from there. I would go to the Water Brewery and speak to Ina and Jeremy. They are fantastic, genius people. I would start with those two people. West Coast, Jeremy Pfeiffer and Ina. I'm sure they will have systems. And Patrick up in from the Wellness Enterprise. There are other people doing amazing things in the US. I'm not knocking them. These ones are my colleagues, my friends, and I know what they're doing. And there's a lot of research there. There are some fantastic technologies coming out. Fantastic. That is affordable for everybody. In about 6 to 8 weeks' time, hopefully I can show people my methodology so that people can copy that, follow it, or we can come to America and we can have another conversation and say, right, this is how to choose a water system. This is how to choose a water bowl. This is how to choose bottled water. We can have a conversation purely on that, if you like, because we've probably gone over time and there's so much information about water.
10 minutes, 59 seconds.
Oh my goodness me. I always love meeting you, Johanna. We always have such a laugh, don't we? And nothing ever goes to plan. It's so much fun. we should tell the viewers, you know, of I don't know, how we've all met and everything, but we'll do that another time. Okay.
Or about how you blessed the energy of my stoa.
I did. I was forced to bless and be perfectly still in your stoa. And now look at what's happening. Great relationship with the snails in the rain in that time.
I get lots of bounty. See, that's also good. That's a good example of how you can change the vibration of the space.
I meditated in your stoa. I call it a porch for 3 to 4 hours, and I had to be perfectly still because of the light, the
security guard.
The security light kind of, if I moved slightly, so it was like, oh, okay. So therefore, you know, obviously my presence and my had some influence there, which I was really grateful for the experience, and I wasn't remotely upset. I was actually pleased to be out of the rain, and at some point, some angel will open the door and let me in, and you did.
The Tai Chi to the test, it really works.
Yeah. I can say, going on to water, really, I didn't know anything about water, but water has been the most magnificent journey I've ever been on, and is the most fulfilling journey. People look at my life and think, oh, you've done some great things. I'm thinking, no, what's great is now. What's great is now, and investigating and researching. I'm more of an observer of water, okay, observer researcher of water. And it kind of speaks to you, and it just tells you what you need to know next. So when I said water is not something you study, it's a journey you go on to discover life. It's who you are. It's what's in the cosmos. It's what's made you. And that journey has led me to, you know, understanding physics, chemistry, biology a lot more, but it's also understanding the nature of language, the nature of sound, light, prayer, you know, who we are. You know, it's allowed me to understand repurposing the human body. It makes me move better. You know, my choice of language, I'm still working on that, obviously. We all are, but it's like choosing language wisely. And water has taken me on this journey. Other people have their own different journeys, which is why I go back to that Shinto priest, you know, find your own way. This has been my way, and if it serves some people, and I'm hoping it will, then we can wake up and have a much more conscious, you know, water generation that will look at the foods they put themselves, look at the water, look at every single process that they interact with water, so that no pollution happens. And we live in a beautiful environment, and this is what the indigenous traditional. By the way, what I'm doing next year, and I'd like to just mention this one. I'm creating a water symposium in Hawaii. Hawaii, where we're going to have traditional wisdom keepers with the new scientists of water, a whole load of them, or frontier scientists as well, and talk story. It'll be very ceremonial, very ritualistic in the umbrella of the Hawaiian culture, but I'm looking at all the Polynesian elders from all around the island nations, because they have a different connection to water than everybody else. So all of the Pacific nations, Japan's coming in, Polynesia, New Zealand, Samoa, hopefully Fiji, and maybe some First Nation, United States, Canadian, and maybe some South American and Andean elders as well, to talk story with frontier scientists, because I believe that frontier new science, okay, has developed so much that it's speaking the same language. It's just using different terminology, and it's magnificent.
Yeah. Right. So if somebody was to follow you, or keep track of where you're doing symposiums, talks, and you mentioned you just taught a class yesterday. If somebody wants to take a class from you, learn more about you, do you have a website, a schedule of class, or how do they get to know you more?
That's really nice of you to share that. Because everything's fast flowing, I think they can contact me on Facebook, Matt Thornton, or LinkedIn is another one on there. Instagram, I've just started up at them. I've been in R&D for like 2 years or something. I haven't hardly looked at social media, but my personal website is just literally the last couple of months, we just redesigned it. It should be going live in about 2 to 3 weeks. It's still there, matt-thornton.com. And the new watergeneration.com will be up in about 4 to 6 weeks. So you caught me in a transition, perhaps. But if they want to catch me on Facebook, Matt Thornton there, then I will let you know when everything's live, or on LinkedIn. You can see a little bit more of my detail on LinkedIn of what I've been up to and what I'm doing. Okay.
Are you currently teaching like online classes, since everything is kind of online?
Well, I got invited to teach a dance class 2 days ago. Okay. Am I a dancer? No. Can I dance? Not really. Can I dance tango? Yeah, probably a little bit of tango. I'll put myself in that bracket. So I was invited by one of my friends. She's Israeli, and she's a Gaga teacher in Berlin. And she was dancing to the elements, and she brought me in to discuss water. And so she knew I was a Tai Chi and Qigong teacher, and so I basically, hopefully the Tai Chi gods and the water legends won't be too annoyed with me here, because I kind of grooved it up a little bit and spun some disc in the background. Took me back to dancing trance on the beaches of Amsterdam when I used to live in Holland.
Really?
And I taught water, though, from a new science point of view, from an artistic point of view, where art is the conscious movement, and then brought in consciousness. Whereas water, not only is the artist, but you're the artist as well. So I've primarily focused on how water flows in the body and how to move subtly, and how to move using ancient choreographed techniques using Qigong and Tai Chi. I just spun it to a little bit of groovy tunes, because that's kind of what they're used to. They liked it. I've been asked back.
Is that online or in person?
That was online. So this is something new. So we are going to be teaching classes there next month. By the way, the Emoto office are going to be teaching online classes on Hado. Now, Hado is what Emoto. This was his original science, and his original research is looking at Hado, which is basically the smallest unit of energy, of which is the basic, which is the energy of human consciousness, and looking at how stimulus of Hado, that could be thoughts, sound, music, symbols, environment, how that stimulates water. And so you look at the quality of the Hado. So it would be translated as vibration or wave. I look at it more as the quality of the vibration. Mm-hmm. Okay, but it's more than that as well. It's what is it, the circumstances that produce that vibration, as in what is that? So we need to look at the quality of the environment, or the consciousness environment that produces that quality of Hado. Anyway, they are doing some talks next month. I would urge everybody to join in. They've asked me to teach one of them.
Where would that be?
That. So, say again?
Where would that be?
That'll be online. I will give you a link to that. And they are talking very different understanding of water. It's beautiful. I love that work. And there's science of water as well. So there will be a proper lecture on the new science of water amongst that. So you can see what I'm talking about and the new science, and also the Hado and Emoto's work. And maybe I'll bring it. Maybe I think I might just wrap it up at the end, because I'm kind of a generalist. a specialist in a few areas, but I'm a jigsaw maker. I am starting to come out strategically and look at all what's going on in the water and going, right, how do we put this all together? Mm-hmm. So, part of the new water generation is to do that, is to put it all together. And one of those things is one of our ventures called Water Stories, where we're going to be teaching children and mainstream about water. So stand by. In the next year or so, we will be starting to produce children's programs on this, on water, and also for the mainstream as well. And you can see this, and this is just a seed. I honor people for tuning in, especially how long we've taken, but it's a journey to go on. And if you're interested in life, optimal health, environment, performance, got to drink good water, got to get connected to water. If you're into the little bit more higher purpose of water, it'll take you there as well. And this is all kind of revolutionary, really, because, we need to start re-looking at the foundations of some of our understanding of life and scientific things, where the gaps are. And I'm not suggesting we just tear everything up. This is complementary until we realize where we need to go. So we need to use this as complementary pioneering that's going to embrace our understanding of, and our metaphysical understanding of who we are and our place in the cosmos.
Wow. Water is such a simple word, yet so deep. And this has been very, very enlightening and gives you a different relationship. Just this conversation already created or shifted the relationship with water. It is now, sacred. And I hope that it also shifted or inspired everyone who's listening to have that relationship with water and use this knowledge, create your own experience with it, and see what wisdom that it brings to you. So thank you so much, Matt.
I've really enjoyed this. Your questions are spectacular because they lead to a very deep understanding of water. So I bless you and honor you for asking me to talk and for asking that particular style of questions as well. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for your very insightful, very enlightening. You are just like in a bottomless well of information, and you bring soul to it, and I can feel your passion just when you talk about it. I don't even have to listen to what you're saying. I can feel the vibration in my body, and that, I think, is what shifts your presence, and how you were able to, your relationship with water through the years is, you are water in your presence. You don't even have to say anything. You don't have to talk. It's the wisdom is transmuted. It's just that, like they say, sit in front of the guru's feet, and the guru doesn't even say anything, but that's how wisdom is being transferred. And yes, with your work with water, with your relationship with water, it has become your being, and I can sense it. I can feel it. Like, yeah, it's water is this. It's like I'm in love with water.
Do you know what? By the way, that's brought me to tears. Thank you very much. And I see the same in you as well with your work. Honestly, I reflect that back to you as well. Water is a love story that has not been told.
I agree.
Simple as that.
And you just told the story.
I just started the opening chapter. It's up to everybody else to go on their own love stories, because I guarantee I'm not the only person in love with water. And there are other people around the world doing similar things to me and better things to me. I'm kind of part of that wave of people trying to bring water to the mainstream, and it will happen. And people will be drinking water in a new way very soon and understanding it. And the change it will make to your lives it will be spectacular. I hope we've served people. We have gone on quite a deep journey, and thank you so much for saying those very beautiful words. But I would say exactly the same to you. And I can't wait to connect again in whatever way it is. And I hope your listeners have gained something from this in whatever way possible. So bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Satnam.
Satnam.